No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey, gardeners. Hope you're all having a great week. I'm out here checking on our container trees right now, and I'm noticing here that we've got some growth. I see buds forming. We should see blooms and flowers probably here pretty soon. The green leaves are already starting to pop out. I see lots and lots of buds forming on this tree here. So hopefully we'll have a really great growing season for our container fruit trees. All right, everybody, let's get growing. All right, all my garden enthusiasts and passionate plant people. It's Saturday and it's time for the Let's Get Growing show right here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a great show ahead for you today. Today on our show, we are featuring Andre Baptiste from Andre the Farmer. So Andre will be joining with us here just a little bit later on in the show. So definitely stay tuned for a great conversation with Andre the Farmer. And here in just a few minutes, we will visit with Jay Tracy from the Cucumber Shop. Talk all about some exotic cucumbers with Jay and a great conversation with Andre just a little bit later in the show. So definitely stay tuned for all of these great conversations we have here on the Let's Get Growing show. And thank you so much for joining with us here today. Now, if you are here with us live right now, definitely click that like button, hit the thumbs up, and also subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed already. Bell notification, be notified of upcoming videos and live streams, as well as share with all of your friends. Let them know about the Let's Get Growing show here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And I say that right now too. I just want to give a heads up and a warning. Next week won't be every Saturday and Sunday. We will be taking Sunday show off next Saturday. So mark your calendars. We'll be taking the Sunday show off, but we will be back here next Saturday. I'll talk all about that here in just a little bit too. And also big, huge shout out to all of you who are watching our replay. Thank you so much for joining with us on your time and catching up with the Let's Get Growing show. And if you can, definitely jump into the comment section and let us know you are here. Let us know if you got any suggestions, any thoughts, questions, comments, all of that. Or if you just want to say hi, definitely jump into the comments below. I'd love to hear from all of you. And thank you so much for being here today, all of you joining with us live. And if you are here, definitely, if you have any questions or comments, definitely jump into the conversation for sure. Especially all of those of you who haven't jumped in the conversation before. If you're here and you haven't been in the chat, jump in, say hi, let us know where you're growing from. And if you do have any questions for me or even for our guests coming up here in a few minutes, definitely put those in big, bold capital letters so that I can see those separate from the regular conversation that you all are having while we're having our conversations here on the show. And I will definitely work on getting those questions asked of our guests for sure. Thank you so much. And follow all of our links down below to all of our guests as well. And you know what I really like to ask everybody to do, though, is to go and click on our guest links that we have in the description and go over there to their channel. Go find a recent video or a recent post on one of their social media and definitely leave them a comment. Let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. I really appreciate all of you for taking that little bit of extra time to show support to all of our great guests who take their time to be here with us on the Let's Get Growing show. So thank you all so much for that. So right on, everybody. How's everything going? How's everything growing? Hope everybody's been doing good in their gardens. As you saw at the beginning there, we've been looking at all of our, kind of containers. I've been kind of really working on and starting to dig into some of the work we've assessed over the last week, all the work that we need to get done to get caught up in the garden, to get prepared for what is coming up this week. This is probably one of those, one of our favorite weeks as gardeners coming up. It is the first day of spring coming up later on this week. So spring is here, coming up, knocking knocking on our door right now, and we got to be prepared to get growing in our gardens. And that's what I've been working to do furiously out there, trying to get things done and get ready for certain things that I'm trying to get done. And though I'm not really, I mean, I'm working on growing as much as I can this year. We're not going to really pressure. I've talked about this in my garden journal video that I did this last week, and so we will have lots of things growing on. I'll be taking you along with that in our videos and in our garden journals throughout the year. But I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself as far as that goes. But I do want to get a lot of this cleaning and stuff done. Also, another thing that I'm also working on too is the first week of spring is really for me where I'm at in my area, in my I don't know, it's not a zone, but this is where in my area, our last frost date is about mid-May. So that for us means that the first week of spring is usually about 8 weeks out from our last frost date. And that's when I'm going to really start getting going with a lot of things that I'm going to get started to grow in out in the garden, especially for things that we're going to be looking at as we're moving towards summer. One of the very first things right now, and it's a hard thing to do to hold on because it's one of our favorite things to grow, is tomatoes. It's kind of hard to hold back and to wait for a good proper time to get them started. But this week for me, and being 8 weeks out from my last frost date, I'm going to get all of my tomatoes started up, get them going. They're pretty fast growers. They'll get growing like weeds when it comes down to it. And so they'll get going, and then I'll work on getting them out into I've got some spaces outdoors, like little mini greenhouses and things. So I'll work on getting them out there to harden off and do all that sort of stuff in about 5 weeks. And then hopefully within, few days from there, we'll start to plant them out around the garden. And I'm going to get them out in just a little bit earlier than what I would normally do before, a few weeks before our last frost date. This worked out really well for me last year. Let's hope it works out really well this year too. It is always a gamble when you're playing around with your last frost date. So you want to make sure that you're prepared. So if you're going to do something like what I'm going to do is take the risk of getting my tomatoes out just a little bit earlier, I'm going to want to be prepared to protect these things if we do have any signs of a hard frost coming up. Tomatoes can weather just a little bit of a light frost if it's just like, maybe an hour or two in the night or something like that. And it just dips there and then comes back out. Tomatoes will be okay. There'll be a little bit of leaf burning, but again, they'll grow like weeds. They'll overcome all of that like no problem. But any hard frost, I definitely want to make sure I'm prepared to give them some sort of protection. So again, I hope this strategy works out this year. It worked out pretty well last year, so we'll see. And from year to year, we never know what we're going to get around here when it comes to climate and when is the frost date going to go. 2 years ago, we had frost, pretty heavy frost, even past my last frost date. So last year didn't even get any frost from mid-April to our last frost date. So we were in the clear, everything worked out. So things can really take a dramatic change even from one year to the next. And so we got to be prepared for that when it comes to planting out in our garden, especially during this time of year. So I hope all of you got things growing on in your gardens and getting all those things growing up. Growing and going and all of that as well too. Let's see here. Let's take a look through here in our chat right now and see if we can't say hi to a few people here. Oh, let's see here. Of course, we got to say hi to Jay. Jay, our facilitator. Great to see you, Jay, joining us from Midwestern Ontario, Canada, and facilitator of the show. Great work Jay does for us throughout the show today. So keep an eye out in the chat there for any sort of links and further information on sort of topics and things that we're going to be talking about throughout the show. So thanks again, Jay, for being here. Let's see here. Oh, what do I got? Let's see. I see we got Rick joining us here from Australia in the future, nice and bright and early. Great to see you. And let's see here, go through here. I see Bowtie Life in the Garden there. Good to see you, David. Thank you for being here. Serena in the chat. Good to see you as well, too. Right on, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Sam, great to see you. What's up, Garden Gang? It's great to see you here. Thanks for joining us. We've got Mobius in the chat as well, too. And Sam says, spring has sprung. It is here. It's like I said, it's knocking right on the door. It's about to bust right through this week for sure. And looking forward to it. Like I said, it's one of our favorite times of year to be able to get things going. It's, daylight time has changed. We've got more sunlight, out there right now. So more light, more, just more time now to be able to spend into the garden and get things growing. So again, thank you everybody for joining with us here today. It's really great to see all of you, Jersey Girl, in the conversation. Thank you for being here. I see Rob's Allotment Gardening joining us from over in the UK. Thanks, Rob, for being here. It's always great to see you and everybody here today. And definitely good to see you. And like I said, if you are here with us, I see we got plenty of people in the audience right now, and you haven't joined in the conversation, jump on in the conversation, say hi, let everybody know you're here, let us know where you're growing from. We got Big Wes's Lawn Care there as well too. Thank you for joining us, Wes. It's good to see all of you. And Shawnee Grows joining the conversation too. Awesome. Great to see you, Shawnee. All right, everyone. Again, too, really a great day here today. I also wanted to mention to everybody too, I was a guest this week on the Garden Party podcast. Our good friends Destin over at Texas Garden Guy and Phil's Figs, and then we were also hanging out with our good friend Ryan Cook from Heavenly Hills Homestead. This last Wednesday, we had a really great conversation there over at the Garden Party podcast. I did put a link right down below in the description for everybody if you didn't get a chance to go check out that conversation that we had over there this last Wednesday. It was really fun. It's always great to get together and hang out with those folks over at the Garden Party podcast. It's always fun. It's always a party, as they say. So definitely go back and check that out if you want to go and see that conversation there too. Like I said, I put a link down below in the description there. We will have all three of them from the Garden Party podcast. They have 3 hosts over there, man. They really they really get into it. That's one thing. It is a party. It's a party of people for sure. And so we'll have Destin and Phil and Des from Gardening with Des as well too. She helps host the Garden Party podcast, and she and the 2 guys will be with us in just a couple of weeks. We'll have them for a nice, fun Sunday roundtable conversation coming up here in a few weeks, and I'll definitely let you all know about that as that comes up for sure too. So right on, everybody. Like I said, we got a really great show ahead for everybody today. We're talking with Andre just a little bit later here today, and in just a few minutes we'll be talking with our good friend Jay Tracy from Cucumber Shop. So we'll take a quick break here, and I'll be right back with you here, and we'll get into our very first conversation of the day.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, here with this week's trivia question. Approximately how long ago was lettuce first cultivated? A, 1,000 years, B, 2,000 years, C, 3,000 years, or D, 4,000 years? We'll be back with the answer a little later in the show.
All right, everybody. Do you know the answer to Sarah's trivia question? Definitely jump into the chat there, or if you're joining with us on the replay, you can drop that into the comments below as well too. But even at 1,000 years, that's quite a long time for something to be around, right? For sure. So let us know what you think of the answer there, and definitely go and check out Sarah's seed shop at sarahseedshop.com there, and shop for some essential garden seeds with our good friend Sarah. And again, you won't find a better value on a lot of those essential seeds either too. So if you have things that you're still looking to get, if you're still looking to get seeds right now, definitely go over and shop over at Sarah's seed shop there for us. All right, everybody, let's jump right into our first conversation of the day today. We've got a great guest with us here for our Are You Following Me?
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
All right. Joining us, our good friend Jay Tracy from the Cucumber Shop. How we doing? Or Cucumber Shop, right?
Yeah. It's the same. Thanks, Scenic. Yeah, so it's great to be here, and I just learned about, I've been learning more about your podcast, and I love it. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really fun.
Well, it's great to actually finally get to meet you. I know a couple years ago we had a setup because everybody knows I tried to get around, or was, trying to do like visit features, and I was going to go check out the Cucumber Shop, and we were supposed to meet up a couple years ago, and I ran into and my car broke down in the middle of Oakland on the
Oh
freeway.
yeah,
You remember that?
I do remember that now.
And I remember, yeah, so it was we ended up not being able to get to meet at that point in time. I'm still going to get down there and check out what you've got growing on sometime on my next trip through. But it's finally great to meet you here on the show finally, though.
Well, I'm glad you got home safely. That's the important thing.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It wasn't in a very friendly place either, too.
That's why I said that.
Exactly. So yeah, there were some nerves on that one, but it definitely turned out all right, and for sure. And again, thank you so much for joining with us here. I want to talk all about cucumbers with you. And that was one of the reasons. In fact, our good friend John Kohler, probably a year or so before I had reached out to you to go make that visit, he was the one who mentioned Cucumber Shop. Someone had mentioned to him about it, and so I was like, oh, I got to do that, because he knew about my how like my whole gardening story started with a cucumber. Or started with a cucumber plant. I've shared this with the audience many times before, is that I had a friend years ago who knew that I liked growing house plants, and I've been doing this most of my life. I've really enjoyed the indoor plants, but I never grew any food before. And I had this friend, because I had the house plants, he thought, well, he didn't know what to do with this cucumber start, and I don't know where he got it from, but he brought it to me because he's like, I know you know what to do with this. And I was like, well, I've never grown food before, but I stuck it out on my balcony. I lived in an apartment. It took over the balcony over the summertime, and we were eating our very first food crop that I'd ever grown, and it was some cucumbers off of an apartment balcony. And that's kind of how this whole adventure got going. So I got to talk cucumbers with someone who specializes in cucumbers, Jay.
Well, that's a great story, and it kind of it hits to a real point in that if you're looking to just start gardening, cucumbers are definitely the way to go. And a lot of people, they automatically go to tomatoes. That's something I want to talk about. But really, when it comes down to something that's real easy and fun and productive, cucumbers are definitely the thing for the summer.
Yeah, they are. And again, too, the one cool thing about that was that cucumbers are literally like my daughter's favorite thing. She loves cucumbers. She's always loved cucumbers. And when I cut those up and we were eating those and everything, she was I was like, hey, guess what? I grew those cucumbers, and her eyes lit up. She was about, I think she was like 13 or 14 at the time, and her eyes lit up, and she's like, "No way, Dad, you didn't grow these." I was like, "Yeah, that's what that plant out in the balcony is," and she couldn't believe it. But that was that real moment, that light bulb moment was like, wait a minute, I can grow my own food. Even on a balcony in an apartment, I was able to grow something that we were able to eat, and that was just really empowering. And so, cucumbers will always have a special place in my heart. But let's talk about some of the. I mean, you're not just growing regular cucumbers, Jay. I mean, you are really got. I mean, you sent me some this last year. I'm gonna hopefully get some more from you. I want to talk
Yeah.
you out of them sometime. But you got some really special varieties of cucumbers that you're growing. You want to talk just a little bit about kind of the range and maybe some different types of cucumbers that you have available at Cucumber Shop?
Yeah, so a cucumber shop itself, it's basically an outgrowth of me. I lived in Tucson for a while. I started in 2007 gardening, and pretty soon thereafter, I figured out that there were some vegetables that did better with in the middle of the summer heat when it's 110, 120. And so that kind of grew as an outgrowth of that. I found some varieties that were incredibly good, and then over time, I'm got varieties that are better and better tasting. At Cucumber Shop, I offer both immature melons that are grown as cucumbers. We'll get into that,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, often called snake melons, Armenian cucumbers, caracello, other things like that, and regular cucumbers as well. And then I really like everything's open pollinated, and I also offer some gherkins and pseudo gherkins as well. Like the Mexican sour gherkin is a pseudo gherkin is what we call it, but
hmm,
by far my favorite are the caracello because they were grown for thousands of years for the quality and the flavor and just I mean,
yeah.
there's nothing like it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, lots of great varieties of cucumbers. One of the ones too that I really enjoy, I think I enjoy the most, and they're probably a normal, regular one anymore for a lot of backyard gardeners, are the lemon cucumbers. I really love those ones and all of that too. Those are good. And
I I need to put this in there. I had a local farmer, organic farmer.
mhm,
He was growing and selling lemon cucumbers. He said people couldn't get enough of them.
yeah.
And then so I was like, well, why don't you try this? So I gave him some seed. He grew some of my stuff, and the lemon cucumbers didn't sell anymore. So
Yeah,
so
I know. Huh?
that's hopefully what people experience when they have some of these. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the fun of being able to explore, kind of special varieties and things like that too, is to really kind of find these new flavors and then in the long run kind of topple over some of your favorites before too. And that's I think I find with lots of other types of crops as well too. We're always exploring different varieties and finding ones that we like over other ones, and those replace in our garden sometimes too. But so tell us a little bit more. I have some questions about cucumbers too.
Okay.
I know that I think Rob was mentioned somewhere. He's like, I like cucumbers, but they don't like me. Some people have issues with cucumber digestion and things like that. Is this something that's overcome in some of these other types of varieties that you're growing?
Yeah, yeah. So my the best way I'm going to put this is I'm going to compare cucumbers to tomatoes. You brought
Okay.
up tomatoes.
Hmm.
It's the number one thing that people want to grow, and there's a reason why.
Exactly.
They're
Yep.
delicious. They're incredible. They're consistently delicious. They have that acidic zing. They've
Yeah.
got that wholesome, like whole rounded flavor, umami. They're often sweet, and you can eat them straight out of the garden. With regular cucumbers, especially if you get them from the grocery store, they've got that thick skin, possible bitterness. They've got that sappy, tacky residue, cause
Hmm.
indigestion. Often people there's prep required. You generally don't eat them straight out of the garden. Some people do, for regular cucumbers.
Yeah.
But it's not a fruit that a lot of people, it's not like people get excited about that because it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's just a cucumber. Um, Whereas what really makes a good cucumber is bitter free, easy on the
Yeah.
digestion, have a clean flavor, no tacky residue. They're delicious. They've got that filling, rounded flavor, that umami. And for me as well, I like them beautiful. I like them with stripes. I like them with
Mm-hmm.
checkers. I like them super long and short and
Yeah.
round. And I love the just incredible diversity of variety that have been saved by indigenous peoples for thousands of years throughout the Mediterranean and beyond.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of what I grow um, isn't a cucumber, isn't a Cucumis sativus. It's a
Yeah.
melon. It's a Cucumis mellow. But
Oh.
for for thousands of years until 700 AD, if you lived in Europe, then before 700 AD, that then you would have a cucumber, but it wouldn't be the cucumbers we know today. It would be a melon. It'd be a
Mm-hmm.
musk melon, like cantaloupe or honeydew, but
Yeah.
they were grown to be cucumbers. They look similar to and taste similar to cucumbers, but much better, much better.
Yeah.
But they don't hold up to traveling across the country. They don't, and they don't have that, all those disadvantages we talked about before. So yeah.
Right. Right. So, but this is something again you're doing as well too, is you're growing these melons, but you're only growing them to, I mean, again, cucumbers are always best when they're young before the seeds
Mhm.
start to harden up and all of that. And is that kind of the same kind of thing with doing the melon variety? You're trying to take them young?
Yeah, yeah. If you're picking them to eat, then generally, the rule of thumb for me is, for if they're round, then usually pick them at about 3 inches in diameter. If they're long, really long, like the snake melons, like
Yeah.
um, for example, the striped Armenian or painted serpent, you pick those when they're about 2 inches in diameter. Otherwise, if they're any smaller than that, you pick them probably about at 1.5 inches in diameter. And so, all these things, and it's best with all cucumbers to pick them by diameter and not by length. And the
Right.
reason being is that then you're really looking at the seed cavity and how far the seed cavity's gone. You want to get them before they get the hard seed coats, because then it's not as edible, not as easy to eat, and not as palatable. But for sure, they're just delicious that way. And there's a lot of varieties. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these things you pick straight from the garden. Cucumis mellow and Cucumis sativus won't cross, so you can just grow one and you can grow it to seed. And yeah, yeah. So
They won't cross?
no, no, no.
Mm.
Cucumis sativus will not cross with Cucumis mellow,
Oh,
despite the
okay.
many things you
Right.
might see on the internet. No, no, they
Oh,
never have. I've
that's a,
grown both next to each other
yeah.
so many times and never had an issue. So yeah.
Do you cross and have bred any of your own cucumbers, or try, is that something you try with, or do you trial different things
So
thinking like maybe this cucumber with those characteristics might be cool, or even if it's the other one, the melons, are there any sort of like crossing or anything you do?
yeah, so like I generally am bringing in
Yeah.
2 to 3 new varieties that have not been in the United States each year. and
Oh,
so
okay.
and so that plus I have several dozen varieties I continue to keep up. I no
Yeah.
longer import any seed from Italy because their quality of seed is very poor.
Mm,
And so I grow everything myself, as it goes with
yeah.
the melons. And so really what I'm looking at is I don't have, I mean, there are some things that I will develop. I developed the checkered variety. I developed a variety with flex, kind of a
Yeah.
little speckled variety. But all those things I developed through just selection. And
Yeah.
because I have so much that I'm working with, those things that have less potential, they may take me 8 to 10 years to develop to get to real high quality. Whereas those things that have really high potential, I can just grow them myself, turn around and offer the seed to other people who've never been able to experience it. Some of these varieties are only indigenous to a local town or local area
Mhm.
or whatever, and no one else has ever been able to try them, and I can offer them to whoever, and it's just a wonderful thing, and it's just a kind of able to experience things from around the world, and they're easy to grow, which makes it a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
How do you connect? Do you just reach out to different farmers or different people, or do you have like certain people you go to? You have like some people you know, and to bring those into the States.
Honestly, anything and everything, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, I've used it. I mean, I've had neighbors, I've had friends at work give
Hmm.
me varieties that are super, super rare. I
Yeah.
couldn't find any way to get them, and people just, I'm just, it's wonderful. So yeah. Oh.
Yikes. Oh boy, sorry. Here we are. Am I back? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
this is a
lost you
kind of
for a
a new
second.
normal for our show right now. I'm still trying to figure this bug out, but thank gosh it didn't drop me. Let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, Jay. Have you had a chance to like travel to places to go check out and find different cucumbers?
I have not yet. I've had,
Oh,
I had this Turkish variety that I've been looking for quite a while, and then uh, the gentleman from Two Seeds in a Pod said, "Oh, I'm going to be releasing it," so he just released that variety this last year. But I have so many varieties from Italy that what I'm planning on doing next year is going to Italy to. I've got a lot of friends there. Some are getting up in age, and I want to see them before they pass away.
hmm,
And I just really want to go on a trip just to thank those people who've shared these varieties with me, shared something that's so valuable with
yeah.
them in this cultural heritage. I want to just go there and thank them and spend some time with them, especially while they're still around.
Yeah, yeah. And also, if you're saying that you're not getting the best kind of seed from Italy, it's probably good to go there and get it firsthand, right? Get it right from people. Maybe you
Well,
will. Maybe you might get some. Maybe you'll get some better ones or something.
yeah, yeah. What I mean by that is if you go with any kind of Italian seed company, there are a couple that sell okay varieties, but a lot of the seed is old or poor quality, and and won't last more than a year if you store it in normal conditions. And
Hmm.
so it's really part of what I do with Cucumber Shop is just really improve the quality of some varieties and then offer those to people so that you put the seed in the ground, it grows. No problem.
Yeah, yeah. Cucumber seed, again, too, like on viability and all of that. Is that a type of seed that, like you say, there is it something that's going to really hold on for years if you store it well?
I store mine in bottles, in airtight bottles. I also have one of those little things that suck the air out, and then I put them in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Most vegetable seed, I would say, be careful about putting in the freezer because if it's too dry, the seed will die. If it's too moist, the seed, the water in it will expand and destroy the cells. So it's the best way is just to put it in the fridge in dark conditions without
Hmm.
air, and in that way, if you have fresh seed, they'll last 10, 20 years that way. But if it's seed that you got that is old anyways, it's
Yeah,
not gonna last forever. So it just
yeah.
depends.
Yeah, yeah. I've had some ups and downs with different seeds and that I've had for time for a good amount of time. And then, I'll have certain varieties that just don't seem to store very well no matter what you do. And then some that are really well. And, I'm still growing years later. Let's see here real quick. Jersey Girl did just ask her a little bit earlier, though. What state is Jay growing in? The
State
great
of
state
mind. Oh,
of.
just kidding. I'm in California, just north of the Bay Area, Fairfield. So I grow in. Uh, Friends let me grow in their front yard. Some other people let me grow in their front yard, and I have a couple people who live out in the country, a little Sassoon Valley area, in it's unincorporated Fairfield, that let me grow in some plots, and so that's
It?
great.
Is that because of a need for space, or is that because you want to keep them in different places from each other, kind of thing?
Yeah, they all have to be isolated from each other. If I'm
Yeah.
growing any kind of melon next to any melon, they'll cross. I mean, muskmelon. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's all for isolation. Yep.
Perfect. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I really, I one of the things I like about the way you really, you're really into the cucumbers. You've really gone right into that and everything. Similar, for me, one of my favorite things is growing peppers. I love peppers. Everybody knows that peppers are my one of my big, like early fascinations in gardening as I was exploring variety. And this is kind of what I'm hearing from you as well too. It's just how awesome cucumbers are, because it's the different varieties and the different
Well,
shapes of the cucumbers, the different looks on the things, or just make
yeah,
them so great and all of that. And I feel the very same way kind of when it comes to my pepper plants as well
yeah,
too, is that you got the different varieties of pepper plants, whether, they're the pods or hot pods or sweet pods or big ones or long ones, or, you get all this great variety in them too. So
yeah, yeah.
it's good to kind of explore those other varieties when we're talking about just individual types of crops that we're growing.
Yeah. So, and I would say this is that if you're a beginning gardener, one of the things that people don't realize with tomatoes, I know a lot of people love tomatoes. I'm stepping on, holy ground for some people. Is tomatoes are the one of the biggest for soil degradation. I mean, Craig LaHoyer of Epic Tomatoes, he uses fresh virgin soil each time for his
Yeah.
tomatoes, and there's a reason. I mean, the host of diseases, of viruses, of soil-borne issues,
Hmm.
of fertility issues, of you know requiring the ideal environment. A lot of
Hmm.
people can't grow tomatoes because of where they live. I mean, or they have to use all these special things to grow their tomatoes. They have
Yeah.
to babysit these things and change their diapers. But I
That's
mean,
right. Tomatoes really do have to be pampered. You really have to watch what they are picky about things. It's just, again, like I was saying earlier, they grow like weeds and they can get going and everything. But
yeah,
man,
yeah. Once they get
once they
going,
get
they're
to a
okay.
certain level of maturity, they could a whole plethora of things can go wrong at that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Once they start
it's a
fruiting,
crazy
then the diseases start coming, and they,
overwatering, underwatering,
yeah,
too
yeah.
much heat, not enough heat.
And and really, the longer you grow in the same place, the more issues you often have with the soil. And so I'm just going to contrast that with, especially these melons that are grown as cucumbers. A lot of these things, a lot of melons, they don't have a lot of disease.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of inbreeding depression. So I mean, they're easy to save the seed of. They, I mean, you can grow them back to back, probably 2 or 3 times in a year, and
Yeah.
then you're going to have to replenish the soil over the winter or whatever. But I mean, super easy. In these ones that are grown as uh, muskmelons, grown as cucumbers, you pick them straight off the plant. You can take a bite of them, and especially if I have this little striped one, the striped carousel lechese. If you try that out, straight from the plant, when it's the right size, it will not make it in the house. It
No,
will not.
yeah.
I mean, and you'll be sharing, like, people will, I mean, yeah, they're just
That's
incredible.
definitely
And
something you
so,
have to take out of the garden fresh and get it going right away, huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, and just, you want something that's easy and fun and doesn't
Hmm.
require a lot of work. And, especially for new gardeners, start small, make it automatic, make it easy, and just enjoy it, just grow something. You don't have to go out there every day and say, oh, what's wrong now? You can just, you know, y- after the first several weeks, you probably had to watch it, make sure nothing eats your plants. And then, after that, you're, generally pretty good. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, nice easy plant. I think, again too, that's how I probably just really lucked out early on, was that I just ended up with this really easy plant. Because like I said, I just did what I naturally thought to do, because I'd grown so many indoor plants before. Was like, okay, well, I know this needs to go outside. I know it needs to go into a pot of soil, and then I'm gonna have to water it, and then feed it, that sort of thing. And so we just those simple things, and the plant just did its own, took over. Like I said, it vined out and took over this whole balcony. I had dozens of fruits coming off of it, and so it was, again, like I said, I think I lucked out. My friend picked just the right one for me to get started with, because again, like I said, that just set me going. So tell us just a little bit more about Cucumber Shop itself there too, before we let you go, and then we'll want to make sure that everybody also knows that we've got links down below in the description to Cucumber Shop there, and your YouTube channel as well too, where you can follow along with the different things growing there that Jay has. And yeah, so tell us just a little bit more about Cucumber Shop, and sort of the maybe a few more of those offerings, and maybe also end with maybe one of your favorites, or even better, what do you think would be a good one, a variety that you have at Cucumber Shop that everyone could start with, that would be a great one for them in their gardens?
Yeah, sometimes they're both one and the same. My favorite is definitely the striped carousel Lucchese. It's just real easy. It's right in between a bush variety and vining. So a lot of carousels, they'll kind of grow about a foot in diameter and start
Hmm.
putting on the fruit and look kind of like a zucchini almost, because it's just got all that fruit clustered in the crown of the plant. And then after that first crop, then they'll continue to vine and set fruit. Yeah, let's see, and it's super easy and fun and delicious. Just make sure you pick them when they're about 1.5 inches in diameter, because unlike regular cucumbers that don't grow too much more, these will grow into melons, so they'll grow
Oh,
big,
they'll
and
get bigger.
some
Yeah.
some do become sweet, but most are not that sweet as melons. They were made to grow as cucumbers. So um, you can find me at Cucumber Shop, Cucumber Seeds, cucumberseed.com. It all brings it same place. I have a blog at scientificgardener.com. Been doing that blog for over a decade. And then I have a YouTube channel. Just you can Google Cucumber Shop YouTube or whatever
Or you can
looking
go
for you.
right down in that description right
Yeah,
below too.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah.
link
But
right there, and I'm sure Jay's dropped one in the chat as well too, for everybody who's here with us live.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what else? Um, I've just been at it for a while. Over time, let's say if you bought a variety from me today, and then I'm still around in 10 years. Over time, I do improve varieties over time. So, a lot of things you may get from other growers over time, you will find that they are better from me, because I'm selecting for the traits that make it what it is. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
somebody said something about pickles, and I mean,
Oh yeah, well, I was just gonna
so
ask. I was gonna drop that question just to get you
yeah,
out here.
yeah,
What's the
yeah.
absolute best cuke for crunchy pickled deal spears, and what's the best type for fresh eating in salads?
So this is what I'll say. I mean, Monica's a good variety. I mean, there's a lot of good varieties for pickling. I mean, you can pickle pig's feet. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
I
you
just
can pickle
like
anything. That's right.
I mean, you can pickle it, but you're probably looking for something that's going to be really hard, really, and possibly a little dry to be able to. They make better
Absorb.
pickles. The ones that
Yeah.
are really hard, and not as good at fresh eating, they make better pickles. Um, for fresh eating, I mean, like I said, the striped carousel, which has a lot of the caracello, they're really good for fresh eating, except for the mezzolongos. Those are better for pickling. But that's what I'll say. Yeah.
Well, excellent, excellent. That's really great. Well, right on. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being here, talking cucumbers with us,
Yeah.
and and sharing with everybody here. And like I said, get some those exotic, cool cucumber varieties that Jay has at Cucumber Shop. Like you said, down in the link below, and grow some of these just really amazing cucumbers. I hope to get some more in my garden this year as well too. And again, thank you, Jay, for being here and spending your time with us and sharing with us today. It's just really great to have you here.
Well, thanks for the invite, Enoch, and I really appreciate all you do. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I really look forward to it. I should hopefully hit the road here sometime this summer. So I'll try to make sure I contact you and we'll get together then.
Sure.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Jay, thank you so much for being here. And again, everybody go check out Cucumber Shop right down in the description below. We'll see you later. Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
The answer to this week's trivia question is D. Lettuce was first cultivated around 2680 BC, more than 4,000 years ago. It was grown by the ancient Egyptians, who valued it for its flavor and medicinal qualities. Thanks for watching. Head over to Sarah's Seed Shop where you can find garden seeds at unbeatable prices. Enjoy the rest of the show and have a great day.
All right, all right. Did you get the answer to Sarah's trivia question right? 4,000 years. I thought 1,000 years would be quite a long ago for lettuce, but yeah, 4,000 years. It's been around a long time. And like I said, be sure to also check out for all of those other essential garden seeds that you might need for your garden coming up at sarahseedshop.com. Go support a young entrepreneur in a new seed shop there at sarahseedshop.com. And thank you, Sarah, for doing our trivia this week. All right, everybody. And hope everybody's been doing good here this week, like I said, and everything's growing well in your gardens. Also, I did want to mention to everybody that if you haven't had a chance to check out last week's shows, last week, or anyways, we'll say last week we hung out with everybody on Saturday's show, and last Sunday we got to hang out with our good friend Gardener Scott from the Gardener Scott channel. He does his monthly Q&A with us on the second Sunday of the month, and last week was our second Sunday, so we got to hang out with Gardener Scott and answered a lot of your gardening questions. We had a lot of really, really amazing questions from everybody last week. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. And if you didn't get a chance to go check it out, go check that show out there. Lots and lots of garden knowledge to know there. And also, I'm going to promote one more time this week. The week before that, we had a really, really amazing conversation with Mr. Charles Dowding. We talked all about his no-dig gardening a couple of weeks ago, and that was just a really, really awesome show. We also got to visit with Eli and Kate in the garden too. So go back and check out those shows there and see what we've been talking about on the Let's Get Growing show. And right on, everybody. It's time to get moving on today. We got a really great guest with us here today for our featured guest.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire, please welcome my next guest.
All right, all right. We have joined with us on the show today our featured guest, Andre Baptiste from Andre the Farmer. Thanks, Andre, for joining with us today. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really awesome for you to take your time to join with us today. I'll give you just a minute here to introduce yourself to everybody, and as well, like I said, as well as our previous guests and all guests here on the Let's Get Growing show, we've got links right down below in the description, so you can go catch up with Andre. So tell us a little bit more about about yourself and what you've got growing on.
Okay, well, I'm a self-taught gardener here in Central Florida. I started with a mango tree about 8 or 9 years ago. And it's grown now to the point where I've got over 100 fruit trees. I've developed a bit of a following on social media. They know me as Andre the Farmer. And I grow pretty much everything I can get my hands on. I created this pepper sauce from things that I grew in the garden here. And that's one of the things that at andrethefarmer.com that we promote. We also have a line of clothing now that is made from sustainably sourced materials. Like this shirt's made from bamboo. So I spend my time mostly in the garden now and, making pepper sauce and distributing pepper sauce around the world.
That's great. That's great, because as I was talking with the previous guest, and everybody knows here on the show, I love peppers. One of my favorite things. I've never gone as far as to make my own pepper sauce, though, too. I should try that someday with some of the varieties I grow. But real quick, while we're on it, though, tell us a little bit more about the pepper sauce, though, too.
Well, so one day I was just sort of, I had a bunch of stuff from the garden. I had some mangoes, I had some pineapples, I had a bunch of peppers and some vegetables, and I kind of just threw them all together, put them in a blender, and came out with something that was really good. I let my son try it, and he loved it, so I gave it to a couple friends, and they all loved it. So I said, you know what? Let's try creating a pepper sauce, because, a lot of people are used to hot sauces.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between a pepper sauce and a hot sauce. Like a hot sauce is generally going to be like pepper, vinegar, and salt. But these have 8 and 9 different fruits and vegetables in them. So the hot has 9 different fruits and vegetables in it because it has Scotch bonnets as well. The not so hot, 8 different fruits and vegetables. It also has mango, pineapple, honey. So they're kind of a sweet and spicy. And they really go with everything. So, once I created it, I found a co-packer and basically we started making it. That was about 4 months ago, and we sold about 2,000 bottles so far.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And again, like you're saying there too, is like when people think like, pepper sauces and those sort of thing, they do think like heat, like what's the hottest ones and the hot, but that's not really where the gold is at. I mean, it's about, and I think really, as much as I've followed like the pepper community and the growers and the sauce makers over there, it's all about creating new and unique flavors and the flavor of the sauce. You want to enjoy. You want some heat, but at the same time, you want to enjoy what you're eating too. It's not all about burning your face off, right?
I always say, you don't want to fight the food, right? You're not trying to fight it.
Exactly.
And that's why neither of these are crazy hot. Even the hot is probably like a 5 out of 10 on the hot scale for most people. Like if you're a pepper eater, you're going to think that these are not hot. But if you're someone who doesn't eat pepper, then you might feel a little bit of heat in them, but they're both full of flavor and they're sweet because there's so many vegetables and fruits inside.
Yeah, excellent. So let's dig into it real quick here. One of the things we love around here on the Let's Get Growing show is talking a little bit about everybody's garden story. You kind of touched on it just a little bit there, saying that kind of your mango or whatever was kind of your gateway into all of this. So was that really kind of your real first gardening experience, or did you have any previous experiences as a child growing up, or more like me, I started later in life myself too?
Yeah,
that cucumber I was talking about. Sorry, cut me off there. Sorry.
Well, I grew up in Canada. And my father, he would garden a little bit. My grandmother lived with us. She would garden a little bit. But I never was interested in what they were doing. I kind of saw out of the corner of my eye things that were being done. I'd have to go pick things and do things, but I hated every minute of it. And it wasn't about 8 years ago, we moved into this property. Well, 9 years ago now, and I had all this space, and I was like, you know what? I want my own mango tree. So
Yeah.
about mango trees, knew nothing about mangoes. So I planted a mango tree. I got a few mangoes. I was like, you know what? I could double this. I could have 2 mango trees. So, I planted another one, then a leaf, then an avocado, then another mango. And, now I've got over 20 varieties of mangoes. I've got 4 or 5 lychee trees, 4 or 5 avocado trees. We've got papayas. We've got pretty much every tropical fruit you can think of that can grow here is growing here.
Oh, that's great. I wish I could grow that sort of stuff. I get jealous of you.
Where are you?
Florida gardeners and farmers. I live in Southern Oregon, so I'm over here on the Oregon West Coast.
I would tell you, don't be jealous of us because Florida is one of the hardest places to grow food.
I know there is, but you guys grow some of these cool things that you just wish you could, for sure. And I know for a lot of the regular stuff, it can be a lot more challenging for
Try to grow a tomato or a cucumber here.
Right, exactly.
It's a journey. You're like, it's a trophy when you're done.
So in the long run, wherever we live, we all kind of got some of those things we can specialize in based on our climate and our regions and all of that, for sure. And then there's those challenges because everybody wants to grow, like you said, a tomato. Everybody wants to grow these sort of things. But, in some places, especially Florida, and I've heard from lots of Florida gardeners how challenging that can be, for sure.
The soil is terrible, right? So the soil is all sand here as well. So, you start off with, on the wrong foot already, and then it's oppressively hot in the summer. Every insect pest lives here year round, basically. It's challenging, but the tropicals that you can grow kind of make up for it.
Right, exactly. That's exactly the point there, right? Is that you got some of those cool things that you do and can specialize in, so you might as well too, right? Get as much as those going as you can, and then do what you can with the other things as well.
Right, like I still try to grow, your cabbage and your lettuce and all those things as well. But we have to grow them mostly in the spring and the fall and the winter. In the summer, pretty much just peppers, eggplants, sweet potatoes, okra, those kind of things.
Yeah. I saw some of your videos and stuff too there, and you for the challenge you have, you do a pretty good job. So you really kind of got things kind of dialed in a bit, huh?
Well, thank you. It's kind of tough though, because I go back to Toronto and I'll see my mom's garden and she literally just drops a seed down and leaves and comes back and there's 1,000 cucumbers there.
Yeah, exactly, right.
How hard I have to work for one of those.
Yeah, right on.
We work with what we got.
Yeah. So what is it? And you've got in there, you got to grow and stuff, and started with these trees and everything. What was it that you really enjoyed most about gardening as you first started getting going that kept you going? And got you hooked, basically.
I believe life is about having things to look forward to. And when you don't have things in front of you that you're looking forward to, it's I think it would be very depressing. And before I started gardening, for me, it would always be like a fishing trip or a hunting trip or going to play basketball or going to play golf. It'd be one of my activities. But those are very sporadic. I might have a trip, every couple of months. But gardening, it was like every single day I'm looking forward to the next day because I want to see what changed in the garden. And the more stuff you have, the more things you see every single day. And it was like I would go to bed and I'd be excited to wake up. I'd just be going to bed was just like a formality. It was just like the time in between me getting up and going in my garden. So, so having that to look forward to every single day, to me, that's the greatest thing about gardening. And when you hear about these people in these blue zones that, they live to be 100 whatever years old, a lot of them garden. And I think that looking forward to tomorrow is very good for you in terms of longevity.
All right. Yeah, exactly. And I love that kind of idea. I think that's something I haven't really heard yet, as someone say, and that really makes so much sense that, we do have, a lot of these other activities. For me, I'd like to go, I loved music, so I'd love to go to concerts or I'd love to go do certain things like that. But then again, you only get to go to those sort of things every so often.
Right.
And gardening is something that really consumes us on a day-to-day basis and allows us to kind of express some sort of enjoyment like you said, every single day as we're looking forward to the next thing that we get to grow.
Yep.
That's just, I think that's great. I'm going to remember that one. I love that.
Yeah, between that, the exercise you get from it, the fact that you'll probably eat healthier when you start growing things. So many different things that combine. Like I think gardening is sort of the fountain of youth. That's the thing that's gonna help you extend your stay on this planet.
Yeah, yeah, and I found that to really be one of the big ones to me, like, initially. Like, it was first like, "Okay, cool, I can grow my own food. This is neat. Let me try doing these different things." But then I was kinda right off the bat as I was learning and growing those first things I was growing, I started to get a lot more concerned with, like, the health of eating, and what it is we can grow to improve our health because we're growing our own food and that sort of stuff. So that was kinda like the very next thing down the line for me was, okay, now I can really understand what I'm putting into my body, what I'm eating more so because I'm growing the food myself versus just going and picking it up somewhere. And it's kind of a second thought, right?
Right, right. And I think you understand the food that you do buy, right? So you still,
Yep.
I know for me, I still buy food from the grocery store, but I understand it better,
Yeah.
and I can make better choices because I grow food.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's see here. What do we have? Oh, well, let me see. I don't know. You got more space. I don't know. We just had a question here. I just want to kind of see what it says. What are some good indoor food plants to grow? Something that would fit inside a small studio. Mm. Well, let's see. That's there's a lot of kind of cool things you can grow, and usually when you're growing food indoors, you're just kind of dealing with the challenge of, things want to grow outdoors. So you got to kind of, a lot of that sort of stuff. I find those like cool, uh, like growing greens in a windowsill. Herbs are always the best. You can have a nice herb garden indoors. Those sort of things will work pretty well. But I haven't really, other than peppers, I've overwintered indoors. And I've got a little grow tent and stuff that I do with peppers and stuff. I haven't really truly experimented too much with indoor growing. I know. How about for you?
Gardening in grow tents, like hydroponics is a great way to do it if you're going to do it inside.
Yep.
I've done lettuce inside. I've done strawberries, cabbage. And I have a video where I make one out of one of those bins. Those black bins you get at the hardware store with the rubber bins, the plastic bins, and they got the yellow top, the yellow
Yes.
lid.
Yeah.
You just cut the holes out of that. You can make your own hydroponic unit there. You put a couple bubblers in it.
Kind of like cracky type of thing.
Yeah, and you can grow a lot of stuff in those things. I'll tell you, hydroponics grows really fast. Like you can grow things super fast that way. Even those little kits that you get that have the light built in and the little hydroponic little units, like one single unit, you can grow a lot of herbs. You can even grow things like cherry tomatoes. So a lot of those things can be grown much easier hydroponically. Growing in the dirt, most things you can still grow inside if you have grow lights or you have a good window. But hydroponics inside just seems to be an easier, better yield. And it's not as complicated as people think it is.
Yeah, and Leslie mentions here one of the primary food I grow indoors, microgreens. I mean, if you really want to supplement your food and that sort of stuff, microgreens, fast, easy. You can get a lot of them going all the time. So that's another great one as well.
You can grow microgreens out of just about anything, too.
Anything. Don't even really need soil either. So yeah, let's see here. Myra Lemons asks, Andre, what are your favorite peppers to grow for a delicious medium hot pepper base for sauces?
In my pepper sauce, it sort of starts off with the base being Tabasco peppers and jalapeno peppers, and then a dash of Carolina Reaper. In the not so hot, in the hot, it's those peppers plus Scotch bonnet, and it's 3 times the amount of Carolina Reaper in the hot. But those are the peppers that I primarily use, but I grow ghost peppers and Trinidad scorpion, and those are all like the crazy, ridiculous peppers. But the Tabasco peppers that I grow, and I call them Tabasco peppers because they're very similar to Tabasco, but they're actually something slightly different. A friend of mine, she's Dominican, and she gave me the seeds, and I grew them, and that's what they are. But they produce all year round. Here they produce even through the winter. And it's a really good sort of in-between medium pepper. I really wish I had the name for you of it, but I call them Tabasco. They're most close to a Tabasco.
Yeah. My favorite for flavor when it comes to like a medium heat pepper is like the Sugar Rush Peach, which was all the rage several years ago. And yeah, I love that one. I grow that one almost every year because it's about on my top heat level that I for enjoying eating a pepper, you know.
I need to get some of those seeds to try that one.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great ones, and like an ahi variety of pepper. That's really great. Yeah, I love growing peppers. Again, as I was talking to Jay earlier in the previous conversation, is just the variety you can get. You know, whether it's from sweet to hot, the color of the pods, the shape of the pods, and then the growing of the plants, the temperaments of the different plants. And I was just talking on the Garden Party podcast this last week. We were talking about one of the gentlemen there has a variegated variety of plants, so it's got variegated leaves with white in all of them. You know, just almost any of these characteristics, you know, that make them unique is what makes them fun to grow. You know,
exactly. Yeah. Peppers, there's so many possibilities, and then I have so many peppers that have sort of, you know, hybridized and crossbred with each other, and you know, so the seeds are all mingled.
Yeah, I mentioned overwintering, but they're in Florida. Is there? Have you tried like growing them as like perennials?
I have a few
possible
do that, and I know a lot of people that do. I've not had a ton of luck. I've had to generally put them in pots and take them inside most of the time. But I have a few peppers that have survived. Like I have one that just never stopped producing all winter, and it's still going right now. But for the most part, I usually take them inside, or I'll start over sometimes too.
Yeah. I wish I could live in a place where I could grow one perennially. I've had guests on before that have grown them for like 4 or 5 years in a row before they've chopped them down and started new plants and all of that. And that's a great thing about peppers. They'll just keep producing and keep producing and keep producing as long as the conditions are right.
And well, we're in Central Florida, so I think a little further south, we'd probably be able to do it easier, but we get down in the mid-30s every now and then. So
yeah. So you definitely got to be careful. And again, that's most any places can possibly do that as well too. So you got to always be careful and keep an eye out if you're ever trying to keep something over winter, if it's got any you know, it doesn't have much frost durability. Right on. So again, we've talked about some of the. What are some of the other favorite things that you grow there? I did watch one. I think a reel actually a little bit earlier too, and you went and started hacking down a big old banana tree or plant. I'm sorry, banana plant.
Well, you know the funny thing is, there's no universal definition of a tree.
Right.
So,
okay, there you go.
So you know, so I used to be of the don't call it a tree; it's a plant. But now I'm like, you know what? You can call it a tree because we don't have a universal. It's like a vegetable. We don't have a universal definition of a vegetable. So, you know, you can call anything a vegetable or a tree, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that. But bananas are one of my favorite things to grow. I just love the way that they grow. I think it's really cool. Pineapples. I love the way pineapples grow. You know, how the flower comes out. It just looks really cool how a pineapple develops. So for me, those are my two favorite things to grow in terms of growing. In terms of eating, my sugar apples and my lychees are my two favorites to eat that I grow.
Yeah. Those sound good. But pineapples, though, those take a couple years to grow out, though, right?
They do take 2 years, which I never understand when people get like really, you know, freaked out about the 2 years. I'm thinking like, how many like big giant fruits are you growing in less than 2 years? Like if you plant a mango seed, you're gonna wait like 8 years, you know?
Right, exactly.
So,
but then I suppose it comes down to, I mean, you're just getting one fruit though, right?
Right, but you're getting pups, right? So each mango plant's gonna produce pups as well, and each pup can produce within a year.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, so now I get
you got yourself on a real like year to year cycle though, then, right?
So I'm getting 20 pineapples a year at least, you know, sometimes more, you know, and that's because I don't even plant all the tops anymore. You know, if I wanted to keep just, it's exponential. Once you have pineapples, it's exponential. You just keep getting more.
Yeah, because you just get more pups and you just keep those ones going, and then it's more. Yeah.
Like one pineapple plant could sometimes put out like 5 or 6 pups. Now you can put those out, and now you've got, you know, 6 pineapple plants, and each one of those is going to produce a pineapple and then produce, 4 or 5 more pups and so on and so on.
Okay, so we know that we take the tops of the pineapples and then we peel them back and grow the roots out of them, and then we can plant them out, right? But with these pups, what are you doing, right? Or actually clarify that for me, and then we'll talk about it.
For the pineapple top, the biggest reason why people fail with the pineapple top is they they select a ripe pineapple. And you really need to select a pineapple that's got a healthy green top, not the ripest pineapple, one that's not ripe. And you got to twist the top off immediately so that you can let that pineapple ripen, but your top is off while it's still fresh. And then you're going to take the bottom leaves off.
We're not cutting the top off. We're twisting that off.
Right. And the only reason that you're twisting instead of cutting is because if you cut it, now you pretty much got to eat your pineapple there. Right. And you're not going to want to cut your pineapple till it's ripe. But if you twist it off, the pineapple can still ripen.
Oh, perfect. That makes a lot of sense then. Yeah.
When you pull off those lower leaves, you're going to plant it right in the soil. That's it. Right in the soil. Now, you can let it sit for a day to harden off, but you're going to put it right in the soil. I don't put it in the water at all.
Okay. Just go right in, get the water, and then it'll start going in itself. That's perfect. Excellent.
And they're hard to kill. Very hard to kill. And the pups, you just take the pups, separate them, and you do the same thing. You just stick them in the ground. You can take the lower leaves off if you want. Just stick them in the ground. They're hard to kill.
So are you just because the pups are coming from under the base, right? So you're just kind of pulling them off.
Exactly. Yep. And they'll have a bottom before the leaves start, and you just put that in the ground. That's it. Or you can leave them in a cluster. Sometimes I just leave them in clusters, and I have a cluster of pineapples that are all producing.
Right on, man. Yeah, I love pineapples. They're one of my favorites for sure. But yeah, it's really kind of, again, too, one of the fun things about gardening and growing is growing all these different things and, how they grow and what's what works best for growing them. They all have different ways of doing stuff. And pineapples are pretty unique in their growing habits. So they're fun to grow.
And because, like someone said, they're bromeliads, they really don't need much in terms of nutrients or water. Like they're almost like air plants. And you can uproot them and put them in another pot, and you can move them around very easily. They really don't care.
Wow, very, very tolerant. That's great. Awesome. What are some of your least favorite things to grow? I mean, I'm sure there's some things you've come across that you're like, dang it, this just doesn't ever work out for me. And I know that Florida's probably ripe with a bunch of them too, I'm sure.
I struggle with squashes and cucumbers.
Yeah.
I find like I get a lot of moldy disease on them. And when I do get one, something drills a hole in it right before it's ripe, So, and I don't even like cucumbers.
Not a cucumber fan.
No, I'm not. So it's hard for me to get motivated to grow the things that I don't even want to eat.
Maybe you should try what Jay was saying. He's got these cool melon varieties that they grow as cucumbers. They're not cucumbers, but they're actually like muskmelons that you harvest really young, like cucumbers. And people, he says that people who don't care for cucumbers like those ones.
I don't like melons either. So I'm probably on the wrong boat there. But so those are the things that are probably most difficult for me, and probably because I put the least amount of effort into them. I did plant some cucumber seeds just a couple days ago. Someone gave me some seeds, so I'm gonna try planting them.
Yeah. And again, too, I grow a lot of stuff as well, too. And there's things I grow that I don't like, that I don't eat because I just like growing them because the plants are cool. I always mention eggplants. I'm not a big fan of eggplant, but I love the plants. The plants are the coolest plants, probably out of all the plants I grow in the garden. The leaves, the colors, again, too, getting down the shapes of the eggplant fruits, the colors, you get lots of different varieties of colors in them and shapes and all of that too. So they are really cool. And so I just find friends and people who enjoy eating them more than I do. And I get to grow them, right?
It's like my papayas. Like I grow papayas, and I thought I was going to love papayas.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
But some people like them. So I gave one away today, actually. I gave a papaya away today. So
yeah, there's a few things that and again too, I love a lot of the tropical fruits and things that you can grow down there. A lot of those things. Can you grow jackfruit where you're at?
Yes.
Those are big trees. I know those are big trees though.
I'm still waiting for my first one to actually fruit, but I've got about I would say probably at least 10 jackfruit trees back there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff I really like, but then there's a few every now and then that you kind of taste that you haven't tried before, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm good on that. Some things can be a little odd in their flavors, and but
sometimes it can be the variety as well. Like
exactly.
So I don't like to write off all of a certain fruit just because I tried one and didn't like it. It could have just been a bad variety or a bad.
Yeah, I find that with mangoes.
Exactly.
Mangoes is big for me with that. There are certain varieties of mangoes. I'm just like, wow, that taste is completely not like the others.
Yeah. These homegrown ones are amazing. Like I'm telling you, you won't want to eat a store-bought one after you've had a bunch of these ones.
Yeah, for sure. And that just goes with most anything you grow, right? It just store-bought stuff is all just, again, geared towards shipping, storage, shelf life, those sort of things. So those varieties are picked for those things so that they look nice on a shelf, and they don't care about taste,
Right.
So
it's funny because I have over 20 varieties of mangoes, and my lowest grade mango is the prettiest looking mango that I have, and that's the most popular commercial variety.
Yeah,
it's Tommy Atkins. It's the most popular one that you're going to find in the supermarkets because it looks amazing. Like if I had to take a picture of it for an ad for my farm, I'm taking a picture of a Tommy. But it's the lowest grade mango that I have.
The lowest grade, right? Yeah. And that's and that just seems to be the case because then again too, then they just get overgrown and then they're grown specifically for crops that they're going, again, to go out onto shelves and stuff. So there isn't a lot of care brought into them as we would do in our own yards, in our own gardens when it comes to the things that we grow too. So that depletes flavor as well too, and again, it's just you can't beat things that you grow yourself.
I agree. It tastes different when you grow it yourself. Even if it doesn't taste different, it tastes different.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess we've kind of touched on this next question though too, is kind of like what are your biggest gardening challenges? So other than I guess being in Florida and sandy soil and those sort of things, what are some of your other gardening challenges that
in my yard particularly, we have a lot of oak trees. So one of my biggest gardening challenges is light.
Okay, yeah.
I have a canopy here.
Being in such a sunny state too, huh?
Exactly. But I have such a canopy back there that I don't have anywhere in my yard that's direct sun. Everywhere is partial sun. So my trees don't grow as fast. But the benefit of that is it acts as a bit of a greenhouse, and I have a microclimate. So when it gets super cold, my mango trees don't get burnt up because it stays a couple of degrees warmer there. So it's kind of a devil's bargain that I have there with the trees. And also the oak trees, they suck a lot of nutrients out of the soil. Their roots are everywhere. The whole ground is filled with vines. They're just searching for every bit of water and nutrients they can get. So that's
I find my maples out front are the same sort of way as well too. They got lots of water roots. They're out there just sucking the rest of everything dry.
Yep. You
got to watch out for those.
Sure, oak trees. They've been around for probably 100 years. Some of these trees.
Yeah. And I'm a tree lover. I love trees, and I look at them and I'm like, oh, you. Hey, I really like you, but I've got to actually, that's one of the things we're working on with our herb garden we got right out here, because it runs off on the side there, and those water roots will keep invading my garden. So what I have to do now is I'm going to figure something to kind of cut them off from being able to get into that space. Yep. So I'm not sure exactly. We're working on kind of a couple of different ideas that we're going to do to try to do that, to keep some of those water roots from getting in there. But yeah, trees can sap out a lot of energy from your garden space.
Definitely.
Right on. Excellent. So let's see here. So you've been gardening now about, you say 9 years, almost a decade or so. And I'm not sure how long ago you got started, but somewhere along the line, you're like, hey, I've been growing all this sort of stuff. Things are pretty cool. I want to share this with other people. And you decided to create Andre the Farmer. Tell us a little bit about how Andre the Farmer came about.
Well, it's a funny story because I had my garden, and it was becoming a bit of a food forest. And I didn't have social media at all, really, other than Facebook. And we went to dinner with a friend of ours, and the wife, she had a garden, and she had it on Instagram, and she had about 3,000 followers. And someone sent her free boots, and she said she gets free stuff because she has followers. Whatever. So I was thinking, you know what? I got a big garden. I should be getting free boots too, right?
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing really started trying to get some free boots, and so I went home that night. I was like, you know what, babe, I'm going to start Instagram. I'm going to start Instagram, and I was trying to come up with names, and it was like, I don't know, Dr. Dre's Monkey Food Forest,
Yes.
names. And
I would have subscribed to that. Yeah.
So finally, I settled on Andre the Farmer. I'll just roll with that for now. And then I had and I'm an orthodontist by day, so I had a patient, and she was like, if you want to grow your Instagram, you have to have a TikTok. And I'm thinking, oh, forget TikTok. TikTok's just for like a bunch of kids and stuff like that. Because my son at the time was moderately TikTok famous. He had about 160,000 followers on TikTok. Yeah. And so I was like, fine, I'll start a TikTok. And TikTok's really where it took off. And after that, the Instagram took off, and the YouTube started to take off, and here we are.
Wow, that's it's great too. And that, yeah. And one thing I'll mention too to everybody out there who don't really have channels and that sort of stuff, you get to a certain point with things, and you're talking about those things you get for free, right? People are offering stuff. People don't understand that even my channel's not very big, and I get inundated through my email that's attached to my social media by companies from all over, mostly like Chinese companies and all of that, are just, here, we've got this free thing for you. Here, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And most all of it has nothing to do with what I do with my channel too. But it's like every single day I'm full of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm to the point where I don't even read 90% of them. I'm just delete.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so much of it. And again, like you said, when you start looking at them for a long period of time, and you just keep knowing, well, this doesn't fit what I do. I can't, I'm not going to just make a video for you or put it in one of my videos because it has nothing to do with gardening, And the thing I get is I always love the very first line, right? I've been watching your channel and really enjoy your content, and I think our products fit exactly fit with what you're doing so well. And then the product is something that's absolutely a mile from what you do.
It's like nail polish, yeah.
Exactly. Makeup for a gardening channel, right?
No. People don't understand, and then you do one ad, and they're like, oh, you're just sell out. I'm like, you know how much stuff I don't do?
Exactly. And I try, and I've been kind of thinking a little bit more, like there's a couple of things I'd like to do and maybe would use. And if it's something I would use, if it's something that sort of thing like that, then, probably might dip my toes into a little bit of that. But I've maybe once or twice, other than our sponsor, that we have really kind of pushed any sort of company's products at all.
I don't do affiliate stuff. I don't want to be an affiliate and have to sell your stuff. But if someone sends me some free stuff and it's good or I like it, I'll make a video for you. Like that's what I'll do. Yeah. I'll make a video and I'll tell people my honest opinion about the thing, and then we're done. That's it. But because I know it's hard when you're starting a business and you have influencers do something. Because I'm in that boat. I try to send this to influencers to get them to make videos about it.
Exactly.
It's not easy to go up the food chain.
It isn't.
Go down. But I want people that are have less followers than me to be able to come up. So I'll always make that video for you. Send me something. I'll try it, and if I like it, I'll make a video about it, and we're done. Right.
Yeah. And if it's, and again too, if it's things going on like you and your sauce, or Jay, who's on earlier, and he's got his cucumber shop, these sort of things, if it's something that's within our gardening community, and within the growing community itself, I love promoting people. Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, she's just a wonderful young woman out there as an entrepreneur doing some cool things, building a seed shop out. So why not help someone out and get the word out for them and stuff. And word of mouth between folks like ourselves is huge for folks who are just getting started.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no reason to not help out people who are doing it. Just not all these crazy companies coming at you from left and right. You know, if you're a good, if you're a person who's within the garden community or the growing community in itself, then yeah, there's no problem with that. I love to give people shout outs when it comes to all of that. So yeah, so again, too, everything's been going great. Tell us some of the some things that that you've gotten to do now since since your channel's pretty much taken off, and now you've got some good followers following along with all of your content and everything. What are some of those things that you set out to do for your content that some things that you've really enjoyed and experiences you've had?
Well, last year we had a TikTok fishing trip. Where I
Okay.
had followers come down, and we had like 50 people on a boat, and we went out fishing, and it was a really
Wow.
cool day. We're doing it again this August 9th. I
Yeah.
posted a little thing on it, so that's really cool. I've got to make some really cool friends, like and legitimate friends. Some people can't understand how you could have friends that you've never met, but we
Right.
hang out on TikTok and in Better Gardeners. I have a gardening school. It's called Better Gardener on school.com, and we hang out in there. Sometimes we get to meet these people, sometimes we don't. But I still feel like these people are friends. So I've made some really great relationships. This summer, I'm doing a retreat to the island of Dominica.
Oh wow.
It's a couple that has a farm there. It's called Free Up Farms. And my mother was actually born in Dominica. So this will be the first time I'm going back to, kind of my roots, I guess, that particular island.
Yeah.
But so it's a 1 week all-inclusive, and it's at a 5-star hotel, and you do farm tours and hiking and ecotourism all day, and everything's garden to table the whole time. So it's
wow.
really, really cool adventure. You can see it on my page. There's going to be, I have a post I'm about to post about that coming up. I've gotten to go
like a lot of fun.
I've gotten to see people's gardens in different places. It's just been a great experience. Just the people that I've met that I otherwise would never have known, that's the greatest sort of benefit from doing all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Permaculture Life, started my Permaculture Life company as well, was really cool. And the pepper sauce. Don't forget the pepper.
Yeah. Don't forget the pepper sauce.
There's a not so hot, and there's a hot.
Excellent.
Whatever your spice level is, that one's for you.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here real quick. Seeing how you mentioned that, I know there was something that was here just a little bit earlier. Lazy Mama asked earlier too. Don't know what peppers you put in the pepper sauce, but it tastes amazing. I know you mentioned it. What are those peppers again too that you do put in there?
Well, the not so hot has the Tabasco, jalapeno, and Carolina Reaper, and the hot has Tabasco, jalapeno, 3 times the Carolina Reaper, and Scotch bonnet.
Yeah. What do you think of that Pepper X? You want to get your hands on that?
You know what? I've had the Reapers and the Ghosts and the Scorpions, and I can't really eat them. Like I know that I can't eat them. I don't want to eat them. Like there's no purpose in eating them. And the thing, when you make a crazy, and that might be what people want. People might want me to make a super hot one, and maybe I will someday. But you can't use much of that. Like that's just you putting a dot in your food. So I just feel like there's not a lot of purpose in that. Like this, you can put on your food. I had a stand over at a store called the Ancient Olive, where we're in that store now. And I had a stand there doing a tasting. And the not so hot, now mind you, some adults, the not so hot is hot for them, but I had 2 little children that were probably 5 years old, and they were just gobbling it down with the chips, the not so hot. They were loving it. They were loving it. So that's why
you gotta have the good flavored ones with all the different varieties. Like Lazy Mama also asks, are there pineapples in the pepper sauce?
Yes, there is pineapple and mango in the pepper sauce, and there's honey, because at the time I had beehives, so it was honey from my beehives initially when I made the first batch.
Oh, right on. So you're not doing bees anymore?
So I gave up the bees about a year ago. I just got tired of getting stung in the face, and I like honey, but I was like, I don't know. And people were getting stung in the face. Like people were just coming over and just getting stung in the face, and they weren't anywhere near the bees. Like the bees were just going crazy. I think they might have got Africanized, but they just
you had some aggressive ones for sure. Then, huh?
They were aggressive at first, but they were. I had 4 hives, but I don't know which hive was the aggressive one. But they got really crazy and they got out of control. And I was like, you know what? I like bees. I like honey. And the thing about bees, honeybees, is they're not great pollinators.
Right.
They're okay pollinators, but they're not great. And they also are very sort of source specific. So once they find a source, they're only going to go to that source. So a lot of times I would find them just leaving my yard to go someplace where there was a big source or something, and they weren't pollinating my trees.
Yeah.
You know, my lychee, they pollinate. My avocado, they pollinate, but they don't pollinate my mangoes. Mangoes are mostly flies and wasps that pollinate them.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one of the things I've been learning more and more about, and we've actually been talking about too here on the show is about natives. You know, we got to really kind of be pushing natives. If you're really talking about good pollination or getting good pollination in your garden, and that is have native plants and native varieties of things growing around your garden spaces to invite those native pollinators into your gardens. Those are real good pollinators versus the honeybees.
Yeah, you know what? When because honeybees are they're invasive. They're not invasive, but they're not native to North America. But I heard a saying one time that trying to save the bees by having honeybees is like trying to save the birds by having chickens.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are not the bees that are in danger. Like honeybees will always be here. It's really our bees that are the ones that are in danger.
Yeah. And we've got to be supporting those habitats for them, because that is really one of the bigger issues we're dealing with in the long run when it comes to a lot of stuff. Isn't necessarily climate change itself, but it's habitat loss. And habitat loss for a lot of these local pollinators that we have in whatever region we live in can cause real big issues when it comes to pollination and that sort of stuff. They are what you want to have. And honeybees, again, like you said, they're plentiful, they're everywhere. I want to have some honeybees. I actually got to go visit my first hives this last year and wear a honeybee suit and everything, and I thought it to be one of the most exhilarating things. I haven't been stung in the face yet, mind you. I might change my mind. But it was very exhilarating to be around all these hives and having all these bees around you and kind of just understand that the power of what they can do as a colony and how they work and all that sort of stuff is extremely fascinating. And I would still love to have my own honeybee hives, but yet at the same time, what I've learned more though is that what I want to do is support the local native habitat or native plants, and that's going to be one of my goals over this next year, is really implementing more native plants into my garden to encourage those native pollinators to get floating around and doing that work, because they're better workers.
Yeah, they are. They're more efficient. And the cool thing about bees too is like there's times like once you have bees for a while, you get to understand when they're aggressive and when they're not. Like there were times where we're collecting honey, and if we're extracting the honey, there's bees. Like literally, I'm in my garage and there's bees all over the place, but they're not aggressive because they're not defending a hive. So I don't have to have a bee suit on or whatever, and I can just walk through the bees and they're all over me and they're fine because they're not defending a hive, but they're just totally different when they're at the hive.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I haven't been around any bees that are that aggressive. I mean, every now and then I'll come across one in my garden. And as though I try to stay still and I'm cool with you and everything, but then they start hitting my head and everything, and that's when the inner child in me starts waving my arms around and running. But for the most part, I've learned to be a lot more comfortable around them when it comes down to it. But yeah. Excellent. Right on. So Andre the farmer, you've been doing this for a while. Tell us, you kind of talked a little bit about what you got coming up there. Is there anything else that we want to know about as far as your channel or things like that? Or
well, we will be at Earth Day here in Orlando. There's Earth Day at Lake Eola. I'm there every year pretty much. But we will have the sweet and spicy there. We'll have all the permaculture life gear there as well. The website's andrethefarmer.com. When we started off, it was all about permaculture life. And we did a lot
tell
of
us a little bit more about permaculture life too.
All right, so permaculture life was, so permaculture is something that I learned about, probably about a year or two after I started gardening. So if you look at my garden, you can see kind of the point where permaculture kind of came in, because the initial trees and mango trees and avocado trees are all kind of in rows. And I'm sorry, they're all in rows. And then once you go down the hill, everything down there is more built like a forest. So permaculture is all about sort of just growing things the way they would in nature and taking advantage of your topography, your moisture, all the things that already exist. So
little microclimates.
Exactly. So things that love water will grow next to the water naturally, right? You don't have to put them next to the water; they will grow there, right? Things that want to be dry will be in a different place, and it's all about sort of just using the terrain and working with nature instead of working against nature. And it's all about, and that helps with sustainability, because now you're not using excess resources. You're not trucking water all the way up a hill. You're just making things more sustainable. And that's what Permaculture Life, the company, was about. So we started off making shirts from hemp. So we have a lot of shirts that are made from hemp. We have shirts that are made from bamboo, because they're just more sustainable than traditional clothing methods or fabric methods. We have a lot of clothes made from recycled materials. We have hoodies, we have beanies, we have hoodies, we have sun shirts that are all made from recycled materials. And also I have seeds and cuttings on the website as well. So whenever I have something really cool in my garden that goes to seed, or I have cuttings available, I put them on the website as well.
Yeah, that's excellent. So for all of those, and is this something you're usually getting maybe more local stuff because you're growing things, cuttings, mangoes? Are you selling these across the country, or how's that?
It's pretty national. It's pretty national. We have people all over the country. Most of the cuttings that I do sell or seeds are things that can grow pretty much anywhere in the country. At least indoors, right? So, and then in terms of the clothing, you can wear the clothing anywhere. The pepper sauce, you can eat that anywhere in the country.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Perfect. Yeah, like I said, everybody get down below. We got links to Andre the Farmer there, and go see if you can't find some of that pepper sauce and all of that as well too. There, that sounds really good. I'm gonna have to get some of that from you and give it a try sometime here too. So
I guarantee you're gonna love it. It's impossible not to love it.
Impossible. I love that. That's a great way to sell it, right?
It's literally impossible. I'll tell you, we get people that walk by and they're like, I don't know about that. Just try it. They try it and they buy it. I'm telling you, you try it, you've got like a 90% chance that you're buying it, whether you had plans on buying it or not, whether you thought you liked pepper sauce or not. Like, it's just objectively good.
Objectively good. That's excellent. Right on, man. And so I'm sure you're doing a lot of like growing, teaching how you're growing and stuff like that, with what basically relaying the things that you've been learning over these last 9 years, and showing people the things that you've succeeded at, and how to do that sort of stuff. So is there any sort of like advice or tips or anything like that you would give to, say, newer gardeners or people who are getting started growing, especially those gardeners who are growing in your area there of Florida?
My number one thing I tell people is get it in the ground. Get it in the ground. Don't worry about planning. Don't worry about learning. Sometimes people spend so much time with a plan and ideas and all this stuff that they don't get anything done. And the sooner you get something in the ground, the more years you have behind you, right? Like if you've got plant that mango tree and it's going to take you about another 2 or 3 years before that thing's going to fruit, get those years behind you. Like, get that tree in the ground. Things are going to grow, things are going to die. That's all part of it. Sometimes people are so worried about being perfect that they just don't do anything. So I always say, get in the ground. When I first started, I planted the mango tree, and then I planted every single thing that I could get my hands on. I planted stuff that was ridiculous, like kiwis that can't even grow here. like everything I could get my hands on, I stuck in the ground. And that's how I learned things that work and the things that don't work so much.
All right, let's see here. Oh, Jay's let me know. Did I miss a question? Yikes. Jay's let me know that Meyer Lemons was asking, have you grown fish peppers?
Oh, that's funny you asked that, because I just had a conference call this morning with the fish pepper company, and I'm actually going to be doing some cooperating with them. And they're trying to actually create a fish pepper, I don't know, I want to say like a commune where everyone's growing fish peppers, and they're going to put them together and sell them to distributors and such. And I'm actually going to be speaking at a fish pepper conference, you could call it, or a fish pepper workshop. So yeah, so I haven't grown them myself yet.
That's really, wow, that's pretty specific for a very specific pepper. Workshops
well, it is an heirloom pepper that's sort of been grown by African Americans here.
Okay.
And it's really a very specific, famous pepper for that reason.
Okay, well, I need to learn a bit more about that for sure. Yeah, I would love to grow some of those. Again, I love growing peppers. It doesn't matter what it is for sure. And again, too, let's see here. Oh, Bote Life in the Garden is like, just get something in the ground. Love this guy. And that's so true though too. And again, that's one of my biggest advice that I give, because it was literally one of the first pieces of advice that I got, because and this was more so in the sense of like getting my channel started, and doing this, but it goes with most anything, is if there's something you want to do, whether it's gardening or making videos or doing anything like that, your best bet is just to get started. They always say the best day to get started was yesterday. Second best day is today, right?
Yep. Listen, I think I kind of molded that from a quote that I heard from Stephen King. And he said, people come up to him all the time and they say, I want to start writing. I want to start writing. And he asked them, what's stopping you, the pen or the paper?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like you could just do it. Like you don't have to want to do something. Just do stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a great quote, and I've also specifically that subject of writing, I've been on myself now for the last year about that. It's just write. And it's something I've been doing a lot lately, more so. I don't, in the background, it takes up a lot of my time because I do have some projects I'm working on as far as that goes. But again, it's just about anything that you want to do or something that you would enjoy doing, or whether it's a hobby or something you want to get into, is just jump in and get going and start gaining that experience, and then that experience is what's going to lead you to learning how to get whatever it is down that you're trying to learn to do.
Right. And also the rewards. Like when you get rewards, you harvest something that motivates you to do more. So you got to get those early wins. You got to get those wins.
Yes. And that actually, it also kind of comes back to my previous conversation too. I was lucky that I had that, you may not like cucumbers, but I sure did. And it was a great one to get started with because it was easy. And I found that very first success too. So that's another great piece of advice too, is find some nice, easy things to get started with, find some early successes, and those things will get you motivated to keep growing as well too. And then again, it's all the other stuff that comes with it that, like I say, you could, you start growing, then you start, you start learning more about, like, as we were talking about, health and food and these sort of things. And then you start learning about what advantages you're getting from the garden. And then there's these other things. The one that I think that really seals the deal is this whole sort of sense of my garden is my escape. My garden is where I can go to, like, kind of like, everything else in the world's all crazy. I could go and escape into the garden, and I can find a sense of relief, from whether my stresses in my own life or stresses that are just kind of trying to invade my life from the outside, So gardens can be a great place to get a good headspace as well, too.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's just so many advantages to growing and gardening, and really just, great to, that, there's so many people who are jumping in and getting involved more and more so too, and a lot because of folks like yourself, you know, who are getting out there and sharing their experiences with everybody like you do at Andre the Farmer, and giving people some really good insights to what you're growing and how you're finding successes in what you're growing. And that only helps build this gardening community even more. And so really hats off to you and all the content and the things that you do as well with your channel and what you do to contribute to our overall gardening community to make it such a great place to be.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It definitely is a great place to be.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said at the top of the screen, that's what we're here about on the Let's Get Growing show, is growing community through gardening and being able to share gardening stories with everybody and to get to know each other. Because again, you also mentioned this a lot about how this was a part of the, you know, your experience as you first started growing and sharing online and everything, was building community and people around what you were doing. And I think that's just, you know, that's just really great. The more we can do that, I think even the better, because it's my philosophy. The more green thumbs we get out there, you know, because everybody's got one. We just got to help them discover them. You know what I mean? We just got to help them discover them. And the more we can do that, the bigger and better our gardening community is, with such a, you know, great and special people. You won't find better people in the world when it comes down to it.
I agree. I have a lot of different friend groups, a lot of different communities that I'm, you know, on the edges of. And I'll tell you, gardeners, person for person, are the coolest group of people. Like, you very rarely meet a gardener who's just a total jerk.
That's right.
You'll meet a golfer, you'll meet a fisherman, you'll meet a hunter, you'll meet a basketball player. You'll meet jerks there, but you don't meet a lot of jerks.
That's right. That's exactly the truth. And I think, and again, too, that becomes another part of what really, you know, makes gardening and this hobby so much fun, is that when we can also go to these other places, like everybody is involved somewhere in some sort of social media or online somewhere. But if they can go to those places as well, too, and find that same sense of, you know, acceptance and camaraderie and sharing of values and those sort of things that you get from participating with others in the gardening community, you know, that's what makes everything that much more great and awesome and special about all of us and everybody who do the things, especially like you do over at Andre the Farmer. And I don't want to have to take up too much more of your time today, Andre, because you've been so great hanging out with us today. But again, I'll give you one last moment here to kind of just let everybody know about what you've got growing on, where they can find you and all of that. And also, again, I want to remind people there are links down below in the description.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm easy to find. I'm Andre the Farmer everywhere, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I'm the same guy everywhere. This is my sweet and spicy pepper sauce. You can get it at andrethefarmer.com. I guarantee you're going to love it. If you don't love it, send it back, give your money back. And
guarantee.
You'll never send it back. I guarantee you. I dare you not to love it. I dare you not to.
Excellent. I definitely got to get myself a bottle of that, give it a try and everything too as well. And yeah, like I said, thanks, Andre, so much for being here with us today and sharing all about your great garden, your wonderful sauce and permaculture life and all of that as well too. It's been wonderful to have this conversation here today. And I hope that everybody takes a moment to go down below, click the link, go visit Andre over at Andre the Farmer, go leave him a comment, and let him know that you saw him here today on the Let's Get Growing show.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andre, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. There we go. Another awesome conversation with Andre Baptiste from Andre the Farmer. And earlier we had a great conversation with Jay Tracy from the Cucumber Shop. Just another awesome edition of the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. And thank you so much to our wonderful guests for spending their time with us today here on the Let's Get Growing show. And as I was mentioning to everybody earlier today too, I was on the Garden Party podcast. This last Wednesday, we were hanging out with our good friends Destin over at the Texas Garden Guy and Phil from Phil's Figs, the hosts of the Garden Party podcast. Des from Gardening with Des wasn't there, but we did get to hang out with our good friend Ryan Cook from Heavenly Hills Homestead. Ryan's been on the channel with us a couple of times, so it was great to get together with Ryan and the guys over at Garden Party Podcast and have a fun conversation with them. I've got also a link down below in the description for that show as well too, for all of you if you want to go and check that out. And we had a great conversation about all sorts of stuff. It's always a fun garden party over at the Garden Party podcast, so definitely check that out, as well as last Sunday on the show, like I said, we always get our good friend Gardner Scott from the Gardner Scott channel. He joined with us to answer all your gardening questions. Definitely go back and check out the Q&A with Gardner Scott last Sunday. And like I say too, every week we are here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, with one caveat for our upcoming Sunday, not this Sunday, but next week's Sunday. We'll get to tomorrow's Sunday, but next Sunday for next weekend, we will be off. This will be a day and everybody knows I like to come hang out anyways on days we don't have guests, but this is actually a personal day. So I won't be, and the Let's Get Growing show won't be on next Sunday. That's next Sunday, not tomorrow Sunday. Tomorrow Sunday, we will be here. And tomorrow's Sunday is the third Sunday of the month. And on the third Sunday of the month, we have our monthly gardening book club. And this has been so much fun over the last year for us to be able to get together on the third Sunday of the month to talk all about these great books, these great gardening books, and what makes our gardening book club so much more fun than more of your regular gardening book clubs you'll have locally, and all of that is that we get to explore and have fun with a great gardening book each month, but then we get to have those authors with us. And we've got my co-host, our good friend Mark Boucher Colbert, MBC, joining with us to be our co-host. He'll also be here live for the In the Garden segment tomorrow, so definitely join with us tomorrow to hang out with me and MBC as we are talking all about climate change and the book, The Climate Change Resilient Vegetable Garden, with author Kim Stoddart. She'll be joining with us. She's from the UK, so she'll be joining with us all the way from the other side of the pond to talk all about this really, really wonderful book. Just a really great book. Just finished it up the other day, and lots of great information in here. Just a really, really pertinent book to the times that we're living in today. So I hope that you all take your time to come back and join with us tomorrow for that really awesome conversation with Kim as well too, for our monthly gardening book club. We got lots and lots growing on here, as we say on the Let's Get Growing show. So again, thank you all so much for being here. It's great to have you here with us. Let's see here. I want to kind of make sure not missing anything here, but again, thank you so much everybody for being here. Meyer Lemons, great. Thanks for all the awesome questions, you guys too. I appreciate all of the questions that you guys throw in for our guests as well too. I hope that I got to all of them. Sorry, I almost missed that one there, and thank you, Jay, for reminding me too as well, so that we could get those questions in, because again, I love the fact that we get to have all of you here to be a part of this just really fun, growing conversation that we get to have each week here on the Let's Get Growing show. That's what makes the show so great. Ultimately, that's what makes it one of the, and I say, and I'm going to keep saying this too, one of the top gardening talk shows in the world, right here on the Let's Get Growing show. We have one of the top gardening talk shows in the world right here, not just because of the amazing guests that we get to talk to each and every week here on our show, but because of you guys, the audience, and the people who participate with each of our conversations and come here each and every week to make all of this so much fun. I mean, there's not much use in having a bunch of great gardening conversations if there isn't a bunch of wonderful gardeners following along with us and hanging out with us here for our show. So thank you all for being here and taking your time to be with us today. So it's really great. Let's see here. I want to make sure that I get everything in that I was supposed to. I don't know if I've got really much of anything else. I need to make sure I remind you. I did tell you about next Sunday, not this Sunday tomorrow, but the next Sunday. So you make sure that you all know that. Oh, and also too, first day of spring. We got the first day of spring coming up, you guys. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, this is just a really special time of year for all of us. Weather's really starting to change, hopefully more so for those of you who are living in the more northern climates. I know for like our facilitator, Jay, who's up there in Canada, and all of you up there, you're probably still holding on for just a little bit more time, but I'm sure that you're starting to notice a bit of some weather changes as well, too, as we are getting ready to kick the door down on spring here this week and start getting most of our gardening seasons going. And like I was mentioning too, is we are really kind of aiming for and leading up to our last frost dates. And those for me here in my area makes that about 8 weeks. So it is go time when it comes to thinking about all the sort of different things that I want to grow in my garden this year. Maybe a little bit, maybe we're holding off just a little bit for some of those maybe warmer stuff like my melons and my squash and stuff, as I'll be doing direct sowing of those in later on, more towards the actual last frost date. I'm taking my hints from our garden guru here, Mr. Scott Wilson, Master Gardener at Gardener Scott Channel, and I'm gonna really make sure I'm keeping an eye on soil temperature. So remember that soil temperature, and we'll kind of make sure that our soil is warm enough and start direct sowing some of those things this year, and kind of testing how that goes as well too. So I have all sorts of fun coming up in the garden. I hope all of you have some great things growing in your garden too. And Serena was saying, I also want to remind everybody, good thing you mentioned that too, Serena. Thank you. She's like, darn, Gardner Scott's book won't be here until April 23rd. And yeah, Gardner Scott's book was just put out, I believe at the beginning of March here. So it is now available for everybody to go and check that out. I don't have a link. Maybe I'll do this after the show. I'll put a link again to Gardner Scott's book for him down in the description as well too. And Jay says that there were delays for the distribution of Gardner Scott's new book too. So yeah, so I guess maybe there is some expectations of delays, which probably is probably the reason why I haven't gotten my book quite yet either, as I'm waiting for that. But as we're talking about that, I'll just throw out a real quick hint, and I did mention this on that Garden Party podcast this last Wednesday too. You'll want to tune in for tomorrow's gardening book club for our announcement of next month's book club book as well too, because we got a special book that we'll be talking about this next month as well too, and we'll dig into all of that as we get growing on our show tomorrow. So again, thank you all so much for being here today. And if you are still with us right now and you haven't yet already, click that like button, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the bell notification so you can be notified of all of our upcoming videos and live streams here on the Let's Get Growing show. And keep an eye out for some videos. I got another video in our pepper series coming out here real soon, probably I think this Tuesday, and then at the end of this next week as well too, I'm going to put out another garden journal for us too. So keep an eye out for those videos. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Share with all your friends too, and let them know. I know there's a lot of you out there who've got lots and lots of garden friends as well in the gardening community. Let them know of the Let's Get Growing show, and let them know about all of our amazing guests and how they can jump in and join the conversation here with us each and every week for all of our great gardening conversation. And also too, follow the links down below. Like I always say, we got our guests links down below, and if you can, go and leave them a comment in one of their more recent videos or posts and let them know you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. And again, so great to have all of you here, and I will see all of you for tomorrow's show as we'll be having our book club. So I'll see all of you with Mark Boucher Colbert tomorrow. See you then.